Hello, everybody. Happy holidays and welcome again to another episode of #EventIcons, episode 4. It's been 4 weeks already. Oh my gosh, time flies so much when you're having fun. And I'm so excited to be back here and so excited for this week's guest, where we're going to be talking about what it's like to start your own event company. Probably one of my own favorite topics as well, so I'm super excited for this one. For everybody who's tuning in live, if you guys want to take 2 seconds and click the buttons on the left-hand side and share this on Twitter and Facebook, we would super appreciate it and would love to have you share it with your friends. The goal of this podcast, this interview, this blab that we're doing on Blab is for us to get as many people in here asking questions as possible, because this isn't like a normal podcast where, me, the host, is just asking questions one way and, all that sort of stuff. This is all about interactivity and getting you guys to ask our guests anything you want. Your chance to interact with the event icons of the world. So, without any further ado, by the way, if you do have any questions on the chat hand side, feel free to post your questions. If you type /Q throughout the broadcast, you can basically ask us anything you have as well. That's the best part about this show. For those who are tuned into the recording, you're going to want to be here 5 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday to ask questions, because that's the best part, is tuning in live. So definitely every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, you're going to want to be here. So I don't want to talk anymore. I want to get #EventIcons started this week and start bringing in our guests so we can get this conversation going, because I'm just super excited for it. So the first guest that we have is Dahlia Gazzar. Dahlia, let's get her in this chat right quick. Dahlia and I have known each other for a very, very long time through the power of the internet. I know this amazing technology, and we have known each other through Twitter, social media, talking back and forth, but we didn't get to actually meet IRL in real life until this last couple months ago at IMEX. And we instantly clicked and became like best friends forever, BFFs. And Dahlia is the go-to person. I know a lot of people ask me all the time, how can I get more people to my event? Dahlia is the one you're going to want to talk to when it comes to that stuff. She's the mastermind of everything marketing events. So definitely give her a call and let her know if you ever need any help with that sort of stuff. So thank you so much for joining us, Dahlia.
Thank you.
Glad all right. Awesome.
Batman.
And Batman's very excited that you're here too, this side. All right. Our next guest, joining us from Denver, Colorado, is Sarah Soliman. Sarah is, oh my gosh. Sarah is literally like, if I've never met anyone that's the master of all things video and media, Sarah's that person for sure. So before starting her own company, she actually used to work at CBS Radio doing the hard work of promotions, which I know all too well from a lot of work that I've done. So she's a saint already by the work that she's done there. And then she moved into becoming the senior client content manager for CNTV, doing awesome interviews across all types of conventions, literally from PCMA to all over the world. So we were just so pleased to have you here today, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Will. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. And then we have a third guest joining us as well. He's running a little bit behind. One of the best parts about this show is it's 100% live. We're going to go on air whether everything's ready or not. So Keith Johnston actually will be joining us in a little bit, and I'll wait to tell a little bit more about Keith when he joins us. But one of the pleasures of owning your own company is you got to work with the clients. You got to make things happen. Keith is currently on a client call, but as soon as he gets done, we're going to get him right on air. So they pay the bills.
That's right.
Awesome. So again, you guys, if you're really excited to be here, thank you guys again for joining us. If you guys all want to take a second to go post on Twitter and Facebook over on the left-hand side, share this with your friends. Let's get everybody in here chatting a little bit and jump right on into the questions. So while I'm going to go with starting with a couple questions, but if you guys out in the audience have any questions at all for our awesome esteemed panel, which by the way, I've been told that we have two awesome Egyptians in the house who are going to make things get done. So you definitely want to ask these 2 questions right now. But
don't scare them.
No, I don't think they're scared at all. So ask them questions, and we'll just jump right in. So first, before we go in any further, I would love to hear, starting with Dahlia, what got you into the events industry?
So I got into the events industry in the way of hospitality and travel. And it's all related somehow. It has a lot to do with people. It has a lot to do with problem solving and very much to do with creating experiences. Along the way, I have an inner geek in me somehow. So my philosophy is with any type of experience or business, there's this layer of technology that you need to either embrace, master, or outsource to someone who can help you put that in place so that you do have a rocking business. Try not to do it on your own type of philosophy, but within the events industry, we are truly lucky, as you guys know, because we touch very different people, and we are all about creating experiences. Whether you're in AV, whether you're in hotels, whether you're in broadcasting, marketing, or even net weaving. So it's funny where you say, "Oh, I'm all about the marketing." And all about the butts and seats and all of this. I'm more about the net weaving than anything else. I'm more about, putting Will in touch with Sarah so that they get connected, or, Will in touch with Keith so that they can get connected, and connecting those dots together, because
Awesome.
ultimately that just makes the experience even better. So it's, I think of what I do every single day, and it's not a bad job. um, when you're in the moment of creating events, and then having that opportunity to make it bigger and better, and you set your own bar as high as you can, and then you just have people that are just cheering you on. That's basically what it's all about in the end.
Awesome.
It doesn't
Awesome.
feel like a job in the end.
No, not at all, right? I think that's one important thing as like an entrepreneur is that you do this because you love it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to live your passion, that's for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Sarah, tell us your background and how'd you move from promotions into
Yeah.
to doing
No,
events?
it's so funny because I often tell people I never even really realized the, massive business that happens within events. I actually went to school, I graduated from UCF with a radio TV degree, interned in radio, went on to work in radio in the Orlando market, worked a little bit in TV, local news, and then realized, you know what, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. It just wasn't the kind of content that I wanted to be sharing with people every single day of my life. So luckily enough, through a contact at the news station that I was at, I was put in contact with a company called CNTV based in Orlando, Florida, and got hired, for that job basically as a production assistant. Now, what CNTV does is they produce news style coverage for associations. So I'm like, okay, this is a way for me to kind of dive in, use my skill set, do some on-camera work, produce. And during my time with them, I was with them for 4 years, I really just fell in love with the meetings industry, attending events like PCMA, IAEE, IMAX, ASAE, all of those industry shows, seeing people like Dahlia, making, building those relationships, seeing how everyone is so kind of like a little family, when you're on the road and you just kind of understand each other, the travel that's involved. I mean, it's just such a powerful industry. And being able to use my journalistic abilities and sit in on educational sessions and learn about different industries, different associations, what's going on within the meetings industry in general, and be able to kind of broadcast that and deliver that information, I fell in love with it. I really got hooked. So that's kind of how I got my start. It was an accident completely, but I am so blessed and so glad that I really was able to kind of fall into this hospitality world and be involved with it like I have been.
Awesome. I love it. Especially, I love that you basically just persevered and kept going through it. And I think sometimes early on as well that you recognized that you weren't happy, which I think sometimes, a lot of times, it's really easy to just kind of be like, oh, I'm going to get through this now, so eventually I can get to that point where I'm happy. But really, it's all about the here and now, right?
And especially for, millennials, I was, 22 years old in college, like, it would have been the easier route for me to kind of stick to what I was doing because that was what I was told to do. But I'm so glad that I kind of knew in my gut that that wasn't right for me. got out of the local news industry really quickly and early on, and was able to kind of dive into this world now that I'm completely in love with. So yeah, it's so vital to kind of listen to yourself, because who knows you better than you. So
True, very true. Awesome. Well, off to the races. We already got some questions from the audience.
Bring it on.
So stoked. So again, if you guys have any questions, /Q on the side. We'd love to answer them. Feel free to submit multiple questions as well. You don't have to submit just one, and we'd love to answer them. So we'll start off with the first question. So from Matt Sherman, local Phoenix, Arizona as well. He is asking, is there any technology out there that helps connect like-minded people, like you were saying, from your experience?
So if you're, Matt, if you're asking the question in regards to technologies within an event or outside of an event, I just needed to get a better within an event. Okay, so let's take mobile apps for a second, because mobile apps are definitely evolving, and they're evolving in the way that we want them to. So gone are the days where it's just basically an uploaded agenda or speaker bios or, a floor plan of an exhibit hall. Right now, you see a lot of the mobile apps, what they're trying to do is connecting like-minded people, whether through interests, whether through their profiles, or more likely like matchmaking. And so that's one technology push that's definitely going to happen more and more at events. I think the other thing that is also happening is because of the power of crowdsourcing, and you see a couple of conferences where they are trying to crowdsource topics and sessions and ideas from attendees that are going to conferences, not having it be more of the agenda per se, but basically, I go to a meeting, I want to learn more about podcasting or about Blab, and I put it out there even through an app or through social media, and that way I'm able to connect with Mike, or I'm able to connect with Will. There's a couple of other technologies. One that just comes to mind is, it's just the face-to-face. It's really going up to a person and just saying hello and, introducing yourself and telling them what you're interested with. That's the old traditional way. But if you're getting into technologies, there's a couple of others. Meetball, which is MEETBALL, is one out of Chicago. They're all about almost like meetups during events. So that is one that you're probably going to see more of going forward. And let me think of others for you. But don't rely on technology to try to find like-minded people, at an event or a show, because if that's the case, then I wouldn't have met Will or Sarah.
That's
great
very true.
Point.
Which, by the way, I was gonna say, the way we met was literally, I don't think I tweeted. I didn't tell anyone I was at IMEX. I think I just was there, and she looks down at my name tag, goes, Will Curran.
It's a celebrity sighting, this is history.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think technology just kind of, it just enhances the event, and helps make those connections. I don't know. It's so weird because you feel like you can obviously meet someone face to face in person, but then, like Dahlia and Will, for example, you guys have been connecting now via technology since the event. So it just really enhances the event while you're within the event, but also obviously me with my video background just kind of extends the life of the event post-show, post-conference, post-trade show, and it's just a great way to kind of connect at all times.
Awesome. I love the idea of keeping it going post-event as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
I'd say one of the best experiences I ever had connecting with people at an event was when I think a lot of apps are doing this now, where it allowed me to submit what sessions I was going to and then had gaps, and I could compare my schedule to other people's and then schedule meetings really quickly. That was awesome because it was all seamless. So I didn't have to go to my Google Calendar and input anything back and forth or anything like that. But then it allowed me to get what I ultimately needed, which was one-on-one time with somebody. But it was really interesting because there was one person I really wanted to meet, but he was completely booked up on his calendar. And because he was booked up, he never had any time to meet with me, even though he really wanted to meet with me. So it almost became a hindrance in itself as well. So like you're saying, don't let the technology run everything as well. Great question, Matt. By the way, let me make sure I'm doing this the right way. The next question that we have is from Mr. Mike McAllen, host of the Meetings Podcast, which, by the way, if any of you guys don't already, subscribe to the Meetings Podcast. There's going to be this really awesome guest named Will Curran on there soon. Definitely worth checking out. So Mike asks, what's the biggest challenge that you have encountered getting seen for your events? Mike, I'm guessing you mean marketing specifically, like getting the event scene itself? Or do you mean you seen at an event? So we'll see what he says. Hopefully we can get some clarification. In the meantime, why don't we go with let's just start with, your event specifically. So why don't we start, Sarah, why don't you give some biggest challenges that you've seen with events being seen themselves?
Yeah, I think from my experience, it's just a lot of times, associations have their members, right? And they count on those guys to register for an event, to be there and actually physically attend. But they don't necessarily do a lot of the social media work, the promotional work prior to really get their event out there, build the buzz, make it easy for folks to register, create promotions beforehand. So I think, and this is mostly for like some of the association clients that I've worked with, it's so crazy because they put on these beautiful events, but they sometimes are so focused on the actual event, what's going to happen on site while people are there. And oftentimes don't really, do a lot of the pre-show work that it takes to really get your event seen, put it out there on the forefront, bug the crap out of people, do the email blasts, remind people that your event is coming up, and really start that, as soon as, your event ends, start the promotion for the following year's event. So that's kind of what I've seen, which has caught me by surprise, really, because social media, as we all know, we're on a social media platform right now, is vital for whatever industry, whatever business you're in. So oftentimes I've found that people really just don't really use social media. Associations don't use social media the way that they really should to promote their event and get people in the door.
True. Very true.
I agree. I totally agree. And, since this session is all about businesses and starting your own business, truly people have to think of events as a business. And they do have to have a set plan together, a rock solid marketing plan. One thing that I would love to see more events do, and I think someone mentioned something like that on here on the messages, is social media influencers. I truly think that social media influencers will play a huge part going forward when promoting an event. And basically what that means is reaching out to people that are very passionate about the topics or very passionate about the focus of the event, and helping them become part of the event. So they become, hi Will, welcome back. And so having these social media influencers, they should become part of your whole entire marketing plan. There's a way where you are able to identify them on social media platforms. There's a way where you can engage them, reward them, and keep them as part of your marketing team. They have tribes and communities that you potentially would not be able to reach without them. And so this is something that has to be like meshed within your overall business plan.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, Dahlia, SEO is huge. I have one client that has really kind of mastered that. Again, just kind of going back to video, building a promotional video for your event, but not just, plugging it onto your YouTube channel and hoping that your database sees it, but really pushing it out there and also implementing SEO into their YouTube, right? To then really kind of push it out there. One of their videos has over 50,000 views just through them partnering with a company that is doing just that. They're social media influencers who can kind of guide them in the right direction. So I think that's a huge step that associations can really implement into their events to help be seen and build not only, you know, their attendance, but new membership as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Mike, just to answer your question, because one of your questions was how do you find social media influencers? This is basically really going to the different platforms and identifying those that are passionate about the topics that you're having at your event or for a specific campaign. It doesn't necessarily have to be represented by number of followers, but it has to be represented by engagement. So if you can identify like your top 3 or your top 4 and utilize them as well as reward them, so you see this happening with movie premieres. You see this happening with consumer like products, like, you know, even with toys, even like with American Girl. So there's a couple of agencies that have mastered this. I don't see anybody using it 100% within the events industry yet.
True. Very true. I will definitely echo everything that they definitely said. SEO has been huge for us as a company in the last year or so. We just started writing a ton of content, being very laser focused on our SEO strategies. Just as a heads up, I was talking to somebody actually in the internet marketing industry, and he was saying actually that he thinks that SEO is actually on the decline. He sees that in the next year or so, SEO will almost be impossible to game. So he's saying that Facebook, like he's basically doubling down from going from SEO to Facebook actually, which is really, really interesting.
So do you mean, sorry, Will, do you mean like the Facebook
ads? Yeah.
Ads? Yeah. Those are actually very effective. When I started my business, I definitely took advantage of that, and I was able to target, you know, the audience that I wanted to reach, the demographic, you know, the regions and all of that. So yeah, Facebook ads are huge as well.
Awesome. So, you know, you guys kind of talked a little bit about, you know, how do we get events really seen? So, you know, you guys both started your own event companies as well. What did it take for you guys to get kind of your first clients on board, you know, to get them start utilizing you guys as, you know, their new supplier? I mean, for example, like on Sarah, I'm guessing some of your clients, I saw some of them, you know, they were used to working with really, really big media production companies. How'd you get them to switch over to you?
That's an interesting question. So I, in my work that I've done within the industry, it's all about building relationships. I treat my clients and those who are not my clients, even, you know, potential clients, like my friends. So that was a huge thing for me to do, is just kind of really build that relationship, get to know people, ask about their kids, learn about them as human beings, and not so much make it a business transaction. I think that right there is probably what I credit my success to as a new business owner. People want to work with people that they like and trust. And I have been able to build these relationships where people feel comfortable with me. They know that I'm going to deliver a quality product, but also, you know, grab a bite to eat with them. Or if I'm in their city, you know, have dinner with them, hang out, you know, give them a call just to say hello. So I think that for me as a new business owner has been key to my success and having folks kind of transition into working with Soliman Productions.
Awesome. I love it. What about you, Dahlia? I mean, how'd you become the powerhouse, you know, social media influencer that you are today?
Steal that, a powerhouse. I like it. I do what Sarah says. It's not an Egyptian thing. It's like maybe more than Egyptian. Everybody do what Sarah says. I think, you know, relationships, they go a truly, truly long way. When I started Dahlia Plus, my first client was actually the company that I had worked at for about 5 years. So that was on peak. So so there's a certain sense of not only relationship but trust as well that was there. And you know, when you're starting your own business, I'm not gonna lie, it's very scary. So it's a give and take, and this is where the net weaving it's not just connecting. It's not about how many like LinkedIn connections you have. It truly is about net weaving in the sense of you're giving just because you're giving. You know, there are times when I just send out emails where it's like, how can I help you? And that's it. There's nothing in return that I want or need. And it goes a long way. But the thing about it is people truly need to take the time to just listen. And, you know, we're at a time right now where we don't do that. We don't just listen and to see what, you know, people's challenges are or problems are, or, you know, what makes them would go around with hair on fire, for example. So I think people need to take time to listen as well as to take time to really flesh out what they're really good at, and also not be everything to everybody. And that's a tough one within our industry. I think, you know, a very great example is a lot of technology companies that I'm dealing with right now want to be an event management system. Well, you can't be an event management system. You can't be everything to everybody at the same time. It's just then you don't have a specialty. Then you don't have that special, you know, power. And so you need to, if you want to be a powerhouse, be known for being that powerhouse in something specific. And if you don't have the answers, that's where your net weaving comes in. And, you know, I don't know that much about AV. I'm going to pass them on to you guys. So, you know, that's what it's all about.
And, you know, something else that just kind of sparked my memory of something, Dahlia. I had a meeting recently with Michael Dominguez with MGM, and he gave me the best compliment I think I've ever received in my professional career. And that is, Sarah, I always knew who you were because you have built a great personal brand. He said to me, he's like, I always knew you were the girl with the microphone doing video, but I had no idea what company you worked for. But it didn't matter because I knew you. I knew your first name, I knew your last name, I knew that you produced quality work, and, you know, I trust you. So that to me kind of spoke volumes coming from someone, you know, like Michael Dominguez in the industry, because it's so true. You know, it's all about building your personal brand, and people will just, they know what your specialty is in and they trust you within that. You know, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in AV either, but I'm an expert in video. So people trust me when it comes to video. And I think that's key to business owners and their success.
That's awesome.
It's very, very true. What about you, Will?
I agree 100% with like picking exactly what you're going to be known for. Like, was the words that you want to really, really own. And you know, like for example, HubSpot, they wanted to own the words inbound marketing. They made up the word inbound marketing and they just owned it and went with it. I think you have to do kind of the same thing as well, is pick something that you're going to be so good at and just focus on that and don't change it at all. I just read an awesome book called The One Thing. Really great book about focusing on your one thing, and it's a good productivity book because it's about like getting your one thing done. But then I think it also is the same way as well. Your positioning, focus on one thing and do that one thing really, really well. And that's really, really huge. For me, it was definitely relationships to start with. You know, for those who don't really know my backstory, I started DJing in backyard parties, and it started by people referring me on to other people. And of course, like I wasn't doing these huge, awesome events that I do now. I was doing like backyard parties for $200, sometimes $50. But you know, it grew and grew and grew, all based on referrals for sure. And then when I started to move towards larger scale events, it definitely had a lot to do with how can I leverage the relationships that I have to find those new relationships that I didn't know I had a connection to. You know, that 6 degrees of separation. I think we're really blessed with the LinkedIn age that we are in now, where we can help meet other people. I know we were talking about what are the cool tools can we use to meet other people, not necessarily at events, but one of my favorite outside of event tools is a tool called Conspire. I think it's like conspire.com or conspire.net. But if you just Google Conspire, it basically attaches to your address book, and everyone who joins, it shows you how you get connected. So when for example, the thing it always does is how can you get connected to Mark Zuckerberg? So it shows how like you're only 2 degrees away from Mark Zuckerberg via this person, and then this person knows that person, and then it shows how well based on email frequency that you know that person. So I love that tool. So it really helps you find those connections and find how do you leverage one relationship to the next. And like I've always found, like you were saying, Dahlia, it's all about adding value. And that's how I leverage those relationships. I just go to them and I say the same thing. How can I help? Call me day or night, text me, email me. You tell me what you need help with and I'll make it happen. And, you know, sometimes you wonder yourself, man, why do I do that? But then it always circles around and karma pays off. So
Totally.
Yeah, totally. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate though. And I do agree with you, especially if you're starting your own business, that you tap into your tribe or the tribe of your tribe. I'm always a believer that you should get out of your comfort zone and, you know, go and introduce yourself or try to connect yourself to those that you think that you will never get an answer
Oh, yeah.
back. And I'll give you a couple of examples on that. So, you know, talk about reading great books. So Marty Neumeyer is the king of branding. He's out of San Francisco. He works with Liquid Agency. And he wrote a book, amazing book called Zag, and the other one's called Brand Gap. And in a previous life, I basically had to do a rebranding for a company, and I'm not going to mention the company, but so with that, you know, I just needed a guidelines, and I had read his book religiously. And I'm thinking, you know, the only person that can help me out with something like this would be Marty Neumeyer. Fast forward, I go and I email him. I sent him my whole presentation about the rebranding. He sent me back all his feedback. It was amazing. A year later, I was having dinner with him at an MPI conference in Cancun, and it was like the best thing ever. But, you know, like another example of this is, you know, Sarah and I are going to be at PCMA convening leaders. I don't know who else is going to be there. Please say it in the messages if you will be there so that we can connect. And I give hugs to everybody I see. So
it's an Egyptian thing.
Central. It's an Egyptian thing. Totally is.
I love it.
So, you know, so part of collaborating and with PCMA is, you know, managing Tech Central, curating speakers and curating you know, just great sessions that will be of importance for our event professionals. So on my bucket list, I'm like, I want big names. We're going to be in Vancouver that will show us how to do it because, you know, it's important for us. And I'm all for one about productivity, as you know, about technology, about startups and collaboration. So my bucket list was to have Hootsuite and have Slack represented. Not only
Awesome.
event technologies. So, you know, this was me getting out of my comfort zone. Slack and Hootsuite, I mean, why would they talk to me of all people? And guess what? They are coming. They're going to have a panel discussion. I'm going to be moderating them for an hour at PCMA.
So cool.
It's like mind-boggling. That's why I'm drinking wine right now. But, you know, this goes to the fact that it could be because of LinkedIn generation. It could be, you know, that people want to get connected to more interesting people. But honestly, if you are living your passion and you believe the message that you have, it's very much like you, Will, saying, I know what I can do for inbound. I know what I could do for Devin's team at HubSpot, and you're going for it. So it's the same as like, I know what this panel discussion can do for 5,000 event professionals in PCMA, and you go for it. Mm-hmm. So this is the premise of any type of business that you are truly, truly, truly passionate about.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. I guess the question that I have for you guys is, you know, so while we love what we do, we went after this, you know, we decided to, you know, quit the normal day jobs and go off and start our own companies. What do you do when passion kind of dries up, when you get burnt out? You know, how do you avoid that? And then what happens if you get to that level where you feel like I've kind of lost this passion, maybe temporarily, because obviously if it's permanent, then probably you should recheck things. But, you know, what do you guys do to avoid burnout, and what do you do when you kind of get to that?
Sarah, I'm going to leave this one up.
Yeah, I was going
to go shopping probably.
Yes, I relieve right? I shop and I work out. No, but that's a tough one for me because as a new business owner, my passion is like through the roof. And I treat this like, I joke around, I'm like, this is my husband, my child, my boyfriend, my, full-time job. Like, this is Soliman Productions is my everything. And I am working harder now than I ever have in my entire life. And I'm sure I got it burned out at some point. But I think it's important to kind of step away and.
Hey, Sarah. I think that you're like, is it doing it for you too, Dahlia? It sounds like a little robotic. You sound like a little robotic there for a second. Okay, it sounds better now. You're good now. So do you want to start from the top again?
Yes. Okay, so is it better? Like paranoid. Yeah. Okay. So I think for me, because Soliman Productions is still a new baby for me, it's, I was saying it's like my husband, my boyfriend, my child, it's my everything. So my passion is through the roof. But at some point, I'm sure I will get burned out because I'm working harder now than I've ever worked in my entire life for anyone else. But I think it's important to recognize that you're getting burned out, listen to your body, take a step back, do things that are relaxing, take a vacation, go to the gym, go shopping, whatever it may be, take a few days off. It's okay. Business will still be there when you get back, and then just kind of reignite that passion in you, because we're human. You can't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know we're all in this rat race, but it's only human to take some time off and regroup and make sure that your mind and your heart and your spirit and everything are in a good place. And I think that as long as you feel that way, and I think also the people that you hang around with, your circle is super important, because when you're surrounded by passionate people, even if they're not doing the same exact thing you're doing, but they have their own ventures, that speaks volumes. Because when I see my friends working hard, I'm like, oh crap, I better get on it, So
totally.
I think passion doesn't necessarily die. I think it just kind of dwindles, but we can always get it back to where we need it to be, if that makes sense.
Awesome. And a really great note, and then I would love to hear your response to, Dahlia, is that Creative's link in the chat said, if you're an event professional and you feel burnt out, she suggests looking for an event to attend simply as an attendee. I think that's a huge, awesome thing, because sometimes, we get burnt out planning the events, but when we go back to one of our favorite events, we're like, oh, I remember why I do this.
Yeah. I think, I think that's a great point. I also think that if you need to step away sometimes, and you need to go to events that have nothing to do with the events industry. It's not like you go to an event and it's an MPI or a PCMA. Try to go to an event that is truly just mind-bending, or that you didn't think of going, even if it's like a Comic-Con. Or if it's like, yeah, exactly. You think I said, I gave you that one. So, just something that's a little different, even if it's like, 99U or Inbound, something that will be mind bending to you. I think the other thing is, when you do get burnt out, like Sarah said, it's okay to step back a bit. But the other thing that people need to do, especially entrepreneurs, or if you're your own business, or like Matt, he's thinking of doing his own tech, for example, you need a soundboard. You truly need someone that can just listen to what you are going through and help you either reevaluate or refresh or push a reset button somehow, just to get you out of that funk.
For example, I was on the plane this morning on my way to Denver. It was like a 6 a.m. flight. And what do I do as soon as that ding comes on Southwest? I bust out my computer, log onto their Wi-Fi, and I'm like, plugging away. And, I'm with my family here. So my dad, actually just said, Sarah, go to sleep. It's okay. It's the holidays. I know you're, passionate. I know you're excited, but you're also tired, and I can see it in your face. He's like, go to sleep. So I said, you know what, you're right. And it's just like that. That's kind of like the voice of reason. It's super important to have that around, for sure.
How do you guys recommend building a great support system around what you do? So is it important to have, like, for example, going to associations, being part of things like MPI? Do you guys recommend having something maybe outside of events at all to kind of support you as well?
For sure. I mean, a lot of my friends are part of the industry. And, I joined a lot of different committees. Like, for example, I'm on the IAE on professional committee. And that has helped me kind of meet people who are solid friends, but also have very similar work ethics and very similar goals. So we can kind of collaborate and exchange ideas, and not just on site at a conference, at an industry event, but also, over a Facebook message or whatever. So that to me is a hugely important circle in my life. Then I have my friends that are completely out of the events industry. They don't even know this whole world exists, but they have their own passions, their own thing going on, and that when I'm around them, it like ignites a same.
Oh, we're starting to get robot voice.
Oh no! What is it? Is it better? Hello?
Okay, now it's good.
Okay, maybe I'll just sit like this and not move. But my friends outside of the meetings industry have their own businesses and nothing to do with events, but they just also ignite a fire in me when I'm around them. And, just being with like-minded people and joining different committees, different circles, different maybe sports teams in your community, just things to kind of get you out there and meet people.
You're like the average of the 5 closest people to you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. I'm going to kind of steer the boat a little bit for a sec, and start to get to some really like clear, concise feedback for everybody. A question I had for you guys. So I'm 26, I'm just starting my entrepreneurial career, even though I'm like technically almost 10 years into it now. But still, younger on the side. And, for example, we have Matt Sherman in the house who's starting his first company at 22. What advice would you have for, let's say, the 18-year-old self that is you?
Oh my God. Stop.
You want to go, Dahlia?
18-year. So lizard brain comes to mind. And that little voice in your mind that says, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that." Even though it's like an amazing idea that keeps you up at night. Don't listen to that voice, I think it's really tough right now, especially because, I know what it is. It's because people tend to spend so much time trying to crush a passionate idea. They spend most of their time and energy competing or comparing themselves to others, and thinking that they would never be able to succeed as much. What they don't understand is, that's not the point of it. The point of it is truly to just see your idea through. You can fail. You can have to try it all over again. But if you don't see it happen and all of a sudden someone is copying you, or you had that idea in mind, that is the moment that will just crush you even more. So my advice is always either you have to go on with your idea, or you bring someone in that can complement you so that you can see your idea being fulfilled. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection does not exist anymore. Because, if you look at Google, if you look at Product Hunt, if you look how simple some of these ideas that are like just kicking ass right now, it truly was because it fit a need, or if it was because someone was passionate in a dorm room, they were 18 or they were 22, and they made things happen.
And, I'm 27, so I'm right there with you, Will, and Matt. So
okay, cheers to both of you. So between the two of you, I'm like your age.
Dahlia's like 24. Dahlia's 24 years old.
Exactly, right.
Exactly.
But, for me, I think, do I sound like a robot? Sorry, I'm super paranoid that
You are good.
Okay, so for me, even to this day, when I quit my day job, I faced a lot of negative energy from individuals, and I'm still dealing with that to this day. I think making sure that not everyone's going to like what you're doing, and that's okay. And being okay with that is vital. And making sure that you don't let the noise distract you, and you're just, you focus on your goal, because ultimately that's why you started. You had a goal in mind and you want to meet it and then some, and you want to provide opportunities for other people, and kind of just, again, it's all about building your brand. So because you're young, you might face a lot of like, oh, he can't figure that out at 22 or 26 or 27 or whatever, but you can, and you will. And making sure that you stay focused and always take the high road and never speak negatively about anybody that may be throwing negativity your way. I think that's a huge lesson that I'm learning and have learned, and am constantly reminding myself of every day as a business owner.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. One of the best feedback that I have for people that are young that want to start a company is nowadays, something a little bit different that I haven't been talking about, I think, a million times in interviews. But one of my favorite things to share recently is that if you want to start a company, don't say, I'm going to go do a day job for 10 years, then start a company. Just go do it now. Because I think a lot of times the people who are like, oh, I'm going to go have a real job for a little while, then start a company, don't ever end up doing that. And I think that the younger you are, the less risky it is for you to start a company.
Yeah, take that leap of faith. You can't go wrong. I mean, the universe will reward whatever you put out there. So if you are working hard towards something, whatever the business may be, you'll get a reward. Whatever you put out, you'll get back.
It's true. Very true. So to steer things a little bit away from starting a company to get back to our events, what would be the one piece of advice, if you could only share one piece of advice, I guess, to make planners' lives easier when planning an event, what would you recommend? It could be about anything. In what way?
Don't be afraid of technology?
Yeah, like embrace technology at your events, or.
Well, see, so actually that statement is not a fair one anymore. I think event professionals, I'll tell you why. Event professionals, it's not about them not embracing technology or afraid of technology. I think what happens is, I think they don't take the time to try to put a solid plan together and delegate it out. And we have this, and I say we because I dub myself as a planner. So I'm a planner and a supplier. I'm a sub-planner. I'm bringing it back to this industry, hashtag planner. But the thing is, they need to be able to not own it completely. They don't have to understand Slack. They don't have to understand Hootsuite, but they need to be able to have someone on their team or outsource it to make them embrace technology better. And not only for their event, but more so for anything else for their team. So the systems that they have to have in place internally are sometimes even more important for an event team than the ones that are within the event.
Awesome. Love it.
And I would say, with the technology, use the resources available to you to tell your story. My field is video. So for me, it's use video to tell your event story. You don't have to do everything yourself. Video is part of the technology world, so let that be your voice. Let that carry your event from pre-event, when you're promoting it on site, and then post-show as well, to really kind of visually show what your event is all about, but also tell the story vocally, and let your members talk. Let your members give testimonies. Like Dahlia was saying, make sure you use all of these resources, mobile apps, things of that nature, to really kind of alleviate some of the work from you. You have great suppliers that you can work with. Make use of those relationships that you have.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love telling stories at events. If anyone ever's been to our site, you've seen our videos. I think video is brilliant platform for events. So I agree 100%. Awesome. So the last question that I have for you guys is kind of a chance for you guys to share your coolest resources that you guys want to share. And as you guys are kind of sharing them, if you can plug them in the chat in the right-hand side so everyone can kind of follow along. Basically, share your coolest resources, whether it's blogs, podcasts, tools, all that stuff.
So I have two that I use all the time. One of them is Mixergy. So Andrew Warner is the king of interviews. And he has this uncanny ability of interviewing people, especially startups and companies, and they just dish out their secrets. They can tell you how they do SEO. They can tell you how they close business. So it's just lessons learned that are just amazing. So that's one. The other one, 99U is also another one. So 99U is owned by Beyonce. I think it's so Beyonce.net. Maybe Beyonce got bought by Adobe, but it's just blogs. 99U now has a conference. I think they still have it in every year in New York, and it's amazing. Amazing resource. And then the last one, and you can see that this has nothing to do with our industry. And I think we know what our sources are within our industry, but it makes sense to look outside of our industry. This is why people love to read Medium, or even like the content that's being shared right now on LinkedIn or the Muse, for example. And I can put these up on here. But Mensch is also another portal that just has these amazing ideas from entrepreneurs and startups. And last but not least is Quib. But Quib is by invite only. And this is all articles that are being shared and commented by like a closed group of people.
Very cool. Very cool.
Everybody here is a VIP, so you have no.
It's very true. Sarah, go ahead.
So I am huge with Periscope. I love to listen to entrepreneurs. One person that I follow heavily is Steve Mayer. I'll type his name here. You guys should definitely check him out. Like, I love just listening to successful entrepreneurs. Not only just give motivational speeches, but just ways of how they continue to maintain their success, ways that they are reinventing themselves, even though they're already, they've reached hierarchy or whatever. So I'm huge with kind of just really getting personal and following people, listening to their stories on Periscope. Something else which is so basic, but Instagram is huge. If you just kind of make use of those hashtags and Twitter as well. So if you are, like, for example, if I hashtag entrepreneurs, click on that. It's amazing some of the content that you can find posted by other entrepreneurs on Instagram, on Twitter, different articles that are shared from those folks around the world. I actually connected with this gentleman. He's actually in the Middle East, but he's an entrepreneur as well. And I met him on Instagram. And I just started kind of following him through hashtags. And I loved his messages. And I have been an avid, believer in what he has to say and kind of constantly putting his messages into my world on a daily basis. So for me, it's more of like the personal, like the whole interactive platforms, kind of like this, sitting in on a Blab, listening to people's stories really and what they have to offer, what their experiences are. That is mostly what my resources have been, especially for the past like 6 months or so, I'd say.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. To kind of jump in, we had a question kind of lingering, and I wanted to wait until the end to answer it. Is Mike asked a little while ago about who are the top social influencers for associations, but I figure we broaden it up. But do you guys have any? I mean, you kind of talked about a little bit about Steve Mayer. Do you guys have any other awesome social media influencers that you guys think that people should be following if they are in the events industry or starting a company? So obviously Dahlia and Sarah.
I do love me some social media.
No, I think, people to follow within our industry. There's so many amazing voices. But, if you look at, like, for example, Jeff Hurt, if you look at Shauna Sakau from Spin Planners, if you look at who else in the association world? I mean, Kiki L'Italien, she owns Blab when it comes to association conversations as well. And
I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the hashtag event profs. That is, again, huge for the whole hashtag thing, kind of narrowing everything down for you on one page. So if you use that hashtag, that will kind of give you an idea of who in our industry really does make the most use of social media, because not everybody is really heavy on social media in our industry. And I think we're starting to get there, but we do have some heavy influencers that you can find, and they use that hashtag heavily as well. So.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. Very cool. So to kind of wrap up the awesome conversation that we've had, for any of those influencers you guys did talk about, if you can plug them over in the chat side, for everyone who's tuning in right now live, we're going to be posting all of these resources that we talked about in case you missed it, as well as the recording of this live up on the Endless blog. You can get to the Endless blog by going to helloendless.com/blog. I posted it over on the chat on the right-hand side. Be sure to subscribe. If you enjoyed this conversation, you had a blast listening in, you want to ask more questions of the icons of the events industry, if you go up to my name right here and click the little plus with the person, that will subscribe you so you get notified every time our show goes live and whenever I schedule the shows. Also, follow me on Twitter to get notified as well whenever we're going live, as well as Hello Endless as well. Next week's going to be an awesome show. We have an absolutely huge lineup. And to give you guys kind of a tease as far as what we're going to be talking about, I posted a link over on the right-hand side of the chat, helloendless.com, and then this long URL, which is for our event trend article for 2016. We're getting near the end of the year. Everyone's starting to talk, what's going to be big next year? What's going to be the coolest, newest thing? And so I decided to bring in two of the biggest experts when it comes to event trends, Mr. Al Wynant, who's the founder of Event Interface, which is an awesome event planning software and event management software, as well as the legendary Corbin Ball, who will be coming in and talking about everything event trends related for 2016. So next week, 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, you guys are definitely going to want to tune in. I hope to see Dahlia and Sarah there as well. And really, really exciting time for us to be talking about event trends and what's going to be big for next year. But I have to definitely thank Dahlia and Sarah so much for being here. Unfortunately, it looks like Keith had that client call go a little bit late. So thank you guys so much for being able to make it today and sharing some of your awesome eventrepreneur knowledge with us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone. And we'll see you next week on hashtag Event Icons, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern on Blab. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.